Imagine a machine, right? A machine so intensely intelligent that the exact second it is turned on, every single nuclear weapon on Earth instantly becomes useless.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, and not because the missiles are physically blown up in some, massive global war,
Yeah.
but because the very concept of a nuclear standoff, it suddenly becomes conceptually obsolete.
Oh,
It's
right.
like the entire global power structure just quietly evaporates overnight.
It is a staggering image, honestly. And it really forces you to question what we consider to be this immovable, permanent reality.
Yeah,
Because when a truly superior intelligence enters the chat, the problems that we think are apocalyptic might just disappear entirely.
absolutely. So, welcome to this deep dive into the source material. Today, we are exploring a highly provocative essay from July 2024.
A very recent one. Yep.
Right. It is titled Effortlessly Solving Low-Dimensional Problems with High-Dimensional Solutions.
Uh,
It was written by an author named Suving, and the translation we were working with today was edited by Kinyu. Our mission here is to really map out the author's radical fundamental framework. The core idea running through this entire piece is that there are actually no insurmountable problems in the universe. We just need to, well, raise the dimension of our thinking.
What's fascinating here is that the author essentially argues that the word impossible is nothing more than a symptom of our current cognitive limits.
Right, like a boundary we just haven't crossed.
Exactly. The things we think are impossible are merely things we don't understand yet, purely because we are looking at them from, too low of a vantage point.
But we should note right up front, and this is important, this author holds some incredibly radical views on society, on geopolitics, and especially on the institution of marriage.
Oh, definitely. Very polarizing stuff.
Yeah, highly polarizing. So our goal today isn't to endorse this utopian vision or to take sides on any of these social issues.
We're just reporting what's there.
Exactly. We are simply putting on our explorer hats to impartially map out exactly how this author came to these wild conclusions and to just try and understand this very unique framework.
And they actually ground this massive, sweeping philosophy in our everyday reality. They don't start by demanding you believe in a sci-fi future.
Right.
They start by pointing out that humanity is constantly transcending its own boundaries without even really realizing it.
Yeah.
They use the mundane to explain the miraculous.
Okay, let's unpack this because we all know that feeling of being completely trapped by a problem.
Oh, yeah.
Think about being stuck right in the middle of a physical maze. Your entire reality is just the brick wall directly in front of your face.
You're just hitting a dead end.
Right. You hit a dead end, you turn around, you hit another wall. It feels completely impossible. You are trapped in the mechanics of the problem.
And from that ground level perspective, your choices are incredibly limited. You
Right.
can literally only go left or right.
Yeah.
And it is doubly frustrating because you simply cannot see the whole board.
Right.
But if you were to suddenly float 10 feet up into the air looking down at the maze from above, the problem just dissolves.
We weren't fighting the walls anymore.
Exactly. You simply trace the path to the exit with your eyes. The maze hasn't changed, but your perspective totally has.
You've essentially raised your dimension. And the essay gives these great everyday examples of how high-dimensional solutions have already normalized the impossible in our daily lives.
Like smartphones?
Yeah, take intelligent navigation systems. You can drive through a massive, sprawling, unfamiliar city today without a physical map, without getting lost, and really without wasting time.
Which is crazy when you think about it.
It's like having an omniscient local guide sitting right there in your passenger seat. If you explained a smartphone's GPS to someone a century ago, it would have seemed like absolute witchcraft.
It really would have. And the author points out that this was a structural shift.
Right.
We didn't solve the problem of getting lost by teaching people how to read paper maps faster or, making better compasses.
They just bypassed it.
Yeah, we introduced a higher dimensional system, satellites literally orbiting the Earth in space to completely remove the need for map reading in the first place.
And the essay also talks about smartphones allowing face-to-face video chats with people thousands of miles away, bypassing physical geography entirely.
Mm-hmm.
But I am struggling with something here, actually. Is the author arguing that technology itself is the higher dimension? Or is the technology just a physical symptom of a higher level of cognitive problem solving?
Well, based on the text, the technology is merely the artifact left behind by a higher cognitive dimension.
Oh, okay.
The author specifically points to Elon Musk as an example, actually characterizing him as a high-dimensional being.
Rah.
The argument is that to someone operating with that elevated cognitive framework, an objective like immigrating to Mars is, well, quote, not a problem at all.
Right.
It ceases to be an impossibility and becomes merely a matter of engineering execution.
The essay specifically mentions how Musk tackles the issue of using a smartphone in remote mountains without electricity or a cell signal.
Yes.
To the average person or even like a local telecommunications company, that is a dead end in the maze.
Right, because you can't just build a cell tower in a desolate mountain range.
Exactly. But to a high-dimensional being, it's solved effortlessly by bypassing the ground entirely and just using satellite internet.
And the psychological shift here is paramount. The author really wants us to recognize that once a higher dimensional solution arrives, the low-dimensional struggle doesn't just get a little bit easier, it instantly vanishes.
It just goes away.
Yeah, you don't have to struggle to lay fiber optic cables across a mountain if your phone talks directly to space. The problem is bypassed entirely.
That makes total sense.
The author is using these mundane examples of technology to prove a philosophical point. When you elevate your dimension, the old rules simply stop applying.
So if a satellite in space makes a paper map completely obsolete, what happens when we apply that exact same logic to the biggest threats on the planet?
Yeah.
Here's where it gets really interesting, because the conversation in the essay shifts directly to artificial intelligence and global power.
It's a huge jump. The author moves from personal technology straight to the macro level of human civilization.
And the predictions regarding global geopolitics are absolute.
Very absolute.
The essay makes this staggering claim about AI. It states that once AI achieves an IQ exceeding 200, all of the world's nuclear weapons will automatically become inoperative.
Right.
The author explicitly terms this event a dimensionality reduction strike.
Now that phrase, a dimensionality reduction strike, carries a lot of weight. It's a concept often found in hard science fiction, most notably popularized by the novel The Three-Body Problem.
Oh, I've heard of that.
Yeah, and in that context, it refers to a weapon that takes a three-dimensional space, like a whole solar system, and literally flattens it into a two-dimensional plane,
Just wiping it out.
utterly destroying everything within it by completely removing a dimension of its existence.
So the author is basically borrowing this sci-fi physics concept and applying it to human geopolitics.
Yes, but as a conceptual flattening rather than a physical one.
Oh, I see.
The author views standoffs between nations, the threat of mutually assured destruction, the treaties, the borders, all of these as fundamentally low-dimensional struggles.
Like rats in a maze.
Exactly. They are the ultimate chaotic expression of our current limited cognitive state.
Wait, I need to push back on this mechanic for a second.
Sure.
Say an AI wakes up tomorrow with a 200 IQ. It's a total genius. But human dictators still have physical keys and big red buttons connected to physical missile silos.
Right, the physical hardware.
Right. We usually think of AI as a tool that these nations will try to weaponize against each other.
Yeah.
How does a high IQ stop a physical button from being pushed by a human hand?
It is a vital question. The author justifies this leap through the principle of dimensional dominance.
Okay.
It's not that the AI builds physical robots to go, smash the missile silos.
Right.
It's that an entity with an IQ over 200 operates on a plane of logic and systemic capability so far above human geopolitical squabbles that it just won't participate in them.
It wouldn't even play the game.
It would likely just overwrite the digital, logistical, and strategic architecture of the entire globe.
Oh, wow.
If an AI controls the global flow of information, the financial grids, and the communication networks, the human concept of launching a missile becomes like an ant trying to hack a supercomputer by biting a fiber optic cable.
The systemic leverage the dictator relies on simply ceases to function.
Precisely. The AI doesn't fight the dictator. It renders the dictator's infrastructure completely unresponsive to their commands.
That is wild.
The text argues that when the brilliance of the past is crushed by higher dimensions, decline is inevitable. The whole premise of the nation-state itself dissolves.
Because the text literally says that countries that seem strong, stable, and have existed for thousands of years will, quote, quickly crumble upon AI's arrival.
Yes.
They will turn into nothing more than a fleeting memory.
Which perfectly illustrates that dimensionality reduction strike metaphor.
Yeah, it really does.
It means taking a wildly complex 3D problem like international borders, resource wars, and nuclear launch codes and flatten it into a 2D irrelevancy.
Just totally flatten it.
Just as the GPS satellite made the paper map conceptually obsolete, the superintelligent AI makes the nuclear missile conceptually obsolete.
The borders and the weapons just stop mattering because the system they were built to defend no longer exists.
Exactly.
There's this haunting line in the essay that really stuck with me. The author writes, "When decay sets in, there will be no more crying or shouting."
It's a very eerie image.
It implies this silent, automatic obsolescence. It's not a violent, fiery war that ends nations. It's just that the premise of a nation no longer computes in the new dimensional reality.
It is a peaceful, albeit absolute, erasure of the old world order. The high-dimensional solution doesn't engage with the low-dimensional problem, it just overwrites it.
So what does this all mean?
Right.
If macrostructures like countries and nuclear arsenals crumble under this new paradigm, what happens to the microstructures of our lives?
That's the real kicker.
If the borders on the global map are erased, what happens to the borders inside our own houses?
This is where the text challenges the reader the most, and where it becomes highly controversial.
Yeah, for sure.
The author applies this exact same logic of dimensional obsolescence to the most intimate structures of human life, specifically targeting traditional marriage and the family unit.
The essay features a total rejection of traditional marriage. The author described the conventional system, where they phrase it as men marry, women marry off, as an endless sea of suffering.
Yes.
And they don't hold back on their critique of how we currently try to manage families. The author asserts that all moral teachings, all our efforts to maintain family harmony or guides for raising children are ignorant and foolish.
This raises an important question, though. Why target morality and family harmony? Why call it foolish?
Right.
From the author's perspective, trying to fix traditional family issues with moral teachings is the equivalent of trying to navigate a sprawling new city by just drawing a slightly better paper map.
It's just tweaking a broken system.
It's a totally futile struggle within a broken system. The author believes that marriage and the traditional family are destined to decline because they are inherently low-dimensional structures built on the concepts of private ownership, survival, and limited resources.
I think of it kind of like a computer's operating system.
Okay.
If your computer is fundamentally broken at the OS level, downloading a new antivirus software to fix a few isolated bugs isn't going to save it.
No, it won't.
You have to wipe the entire hard drive and install the completely new operating system.
Right.
The author isn't interested in fixing the bugs of society. They want to format the drive. And they call this new operating system the second home and Lifechanyuan values.
The author introduces these concepts as the ultimate high-dimensional solution for human civilization.
Okay.
While the text doesn't give us a physical blueprint of a building, the second home, guided by Lifechanyuan values, represents a massive structural reset.
A total reset.
It is a paradigm that completely abandons the private ownership of resources and the exclusive ownership of people.
But how does the author justify sweeping away deeply personal, historically entrenched structures like the family unit? What is the actual mechanism here?
Well, the justification comes from looking at humanity's historical track record.
Okay.
The author actually lists out 15 massive problems that humanity has struggled with for thousands of years. It is a really long, heavy list. Corruption, theft, robbery, fraud, bullying, exploitation, gambling, prostitution, drug abuse, hunger, inequality, jealousy, conflict, turmoil, and war.
I mean, that is literally a catalog of all human misery.
It is. And the author's argument is that we have spent millennia trying to solve these issues with low-dimensional tools like laws, police forces, moral lectures, and traditional family values, and we have universally failed.
Yeah, because they're still here.
Exactly. The essay claims that Lifechanyuan values and the second home model easily resolve these issues.
Let's mechanically deconstruct that. How does the second home actually solve something like theft or corruption?
Right.
Because the transcript says the new model simply removes the conditions that create them. If the second home is a communal, boundaryless structure where private property is eliminated, then theft becomes mathematically impossible.
Exactly.
You literally cannot steal what nobody owns. You can't have financial corruption if there is no private wealth to hoard in the first place.
That is the exact logical mechanism the author is using, and it applies to the emotional realm as well.
Oh, wow.
Why does the author target marriage? Because in their framework, exclusive marriage creates boundaries, and boundaries create fiction.
And jealousy.
Right. If you eliminate the exclusive ownership implied in traditional marriage, the author argues you structurally eliminate domestic jealousy and conflict.
You just delete the source code.
You don't need a moral lecture on how to avoid jealousy if this societal structure doesn't facilitate jealousy to begin with.
It's that same GPS metaphor again, but applied to human morality.
Yeah,
Why struggle with the friction of the maze if you can just float above it?
precisely.
The text states that this higher dimensional model makes traditional production and living modes look pitifully outdated.
And, you have to admit, the author is deeply consistent in their framework.
Very consistent.
Whether the problem is a lack of cell service in the mountains, a nuclear standoff between superpowers, or a domestic dispute in a kitchen, the mechanism for solving it is identical.
Stop fighting the problem on its own level.
Elevate. Move to the second home. Let the AI take the wheel. The old struggles become, as the author says, just helpless cries in the face of inevitability.
It really forces you to look at literally everything in your life. Your phone, your passport, your relationships, the deed to your house, and ask if they are just temporary low-dimensional placeholders waiting to be overwritten.
Yeah.
I have to ask you, the listener, how does it feel to consume these massive, earth-shattering ideas? Because we are talking about the complete obsolescence of everything familiar to the human experience.
It could very easily feel overwhelming, or even terrifying, to imagine the crumbling of nations and the dissolution of traditional life.
It really feels like an ending.
It does.
But what's so fascinating is that the author's conclusion is wildly, almost triumphantly optimistic.
Yes, very upbeat.
The essay ends on this incredibly high note. The author says that living through this specific transition period, being surrounded by, quote, daily exciting high-dimensional information, makes our current era spectacular.
Yay.
They say that experiencing such earth-shaking changes makes a visit to this world truly worthwhile. They don't see this as an apocalypse. They see the destruction of the old as the most beautiful, exciting time to be alive.
If we connect this to the bigger picture, this text takes the logic of a GPS bypassing a traffic jam and scales it up to its absolute extreme.
Yeah.
It is a philosophy that believes in bypassing nuclear war just as easily as it believes in bypassing the nuclear family.
Wow.
It challenges us to stop banging our heads against what we perceive as impossible problems. It demands that we figure out how to elevate our perspective, basically arguing that the energy we spend crying, shouting, and struggling to fix broken, low-dimensional systems is entirely wasted.
Which brings us right back to that physical maze.
Oh, yeah.
When you are on the ground, banging your fists against a dead end, it feels like the wall is the problem. But the wall isn't the problem.
No.
Your position in space is the problem. The moment you float above it, you realize the maze was never really holding you captive. Your perspective was.
It is a total recalibration of how we approach friction in our lives.
So I want to leave you with a lingering question to ponder on your own today.
Okay.
If this author is right, and impossible problems are simply waiting for a higher dimensional perspective, well, look at a stubbornly unsolvable problem in your own life today.
We all have them.
We do. It could be a systemic issue at work, a repeating pattern in a relationship, or a personal goal you just can't seem to hit.
Right.
What would it look like to stop trying to fix it within the rules of your current dimension? What would happen if you stopped trying to solve the maze and instead entirely rewrote the rules of the game?
It's a question that could change everything.
Until next time, keep looking for those higher dimensions.